So maybe it'd be fun. I mean, not that fun, but a little fun, if somehow the ID appeared in the DOM. Might make it easier to target these things somehow. We may never actually end up using that, but it's still kind of a nice thing. So once again, in HTML5, there are data attributes in HTML. You don't need to write this down, but I'm just going to show you what one looks like. So suppose we have some div here, and we want to add an attribute to store the ID of that thing, just to have it represented in the DOM so we can search for it. Well, ID is already taken, and that means something. That identifies the DOM node. We could add data-ID or data-anything, and that's still valid HTML. So if you have some data you want to store on a tag, you can use a data attribute. Data-whatever the thing is, and then that can be whatever you want. And then inside CSS or JavaScript or something, I could use an attribute selector to find it. We haven't done any attribute selectors yet. Attribute selectors do what they sound like. They find an element by one of its attributes. For example, if I said input square bracket autofocus, that selector would match an input that has the autofocus attribute. Yes. Well, in CSS, it would find them all. And in JavaScript, it would depend on whether you use query selector or query selector all. Yeah, it is important to note most selectors in CSS would match everything that matches that selector, unless it's something like first of type. Well, even then, it would find all things that are first of type anyway. So in this case, we could say like div data ID, and we could search for its value as well. That kind of selector, attribute selector. Say we only wanted to find that if it also had a class of special. You could do that. That would find only divs that have a class of special and a data ID attribute of 4. So we're going to do something like that to our LIs. So we're adding something to the LI. Where should we write this code? Which method should we write this code in? Add flick. Anybody have another idea? We totally could. I think there's a slightly better place for it, but we certainly could. Say again? Did you say something? Render list item? Sure. That's the thing that builds the list item. So this feels like its responsibility. The other one could do it, but it more closely matches the responsibility of this method, so I'm going to put it there. So we set its text content. Now let's set that attribute. We could use set attribute. Some of you have used that on your homework, I saw. But data attributes are kind of special. Let's temporarily put another thing in here that just has a data attribute for the sake of illustration, and say data ID equals 6. Let's find that thing. What was that anyway? Okay. Let's say document dot query selector, any type of element with a data ID of 6. Okay, here's that element. Has all kinds of properties, one of which is dataset. Dataset returns an object that has keys and values that match the data attributes. Stuck another one on there. Data name. Wow. Refresh. Find it again. E.dataset. It's an object. ID 6, name, wow. You know what JSON stands for? JavaScript Object Notation. Yep. All right, so we could probably say item.dataset.id equals flick.id. Don't have to pass any more arguments because we have all the data for that flick inside this single object already. Cool. Did it work? Refresh. Add some flicks. The new Thor. Trust me, this isn't a spoiler, but kinda the end credits of another Marvel movie. Independence Day. This time, it's even worse. All right, let's find all these LIs. Document.querySelectorAll. LI. Let's look at the first one. LI data ID 1. Second one, LI data ID 2. Totally worked. Yay. Add it and commit it. Add a data attribute to each list item.